In this video, I'm going to be talking about my very first gameplay impressions of Modern Warfare 3 Zombies from the 1 hour, one game session that I had at Treyarch Studios last week. I know a ton of you have been interested to hear my opinions on Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, and I want to give you it from someone that has played the game, but please understand that I have only played one single game of it for an hour, so it's not really enough to base a true impression on. Everything we're going to talk about is going to be constructive criticism for Treyarch to take on board to help make the game better. It's clear the reaction from the initial reveal has been very mixed, but I want to give you the opinion from someone like me who has been a fan of zombies from the very beginning and what they first thought. Now, with any of these videos, there is definitely going to be something that I'm going to regret not having said when I come to edit the video, but I'm going to try and cover absolutely everything. But starting off with the good things, and this might be a bit of a controversial opinion, but I actually enjoyed what I played. I thought that it was quite fun, but this is because I'm someone that loves playing DMZ in Modern Warfare 2, and I've played that since it launched last year. I've played it every single season. I really enjoyed DMZ, and this game mode is pretty much 99% DMZ, but instead of the AI soldiers, you now have zombies as the main enemies, as well as AI soldiers and a lack of PvP, but it really is incredibly similar to DMZ. Some of you may see that as a positive, some of you may see that as a negative, but I think explaining this mode as a DMZ and Outbreak hybrid is probably not accurate at all, because it is absolutely more DMZ than it ever was Outbreak. When you take a step back and realize that this is not round-based zombies, but round-based zombies is not going anywhere. It will be returning in a future Call of Duty game. There is no doubt about that. That's when you can start to objectively look at this as a fun, different style of gameplay. Now, I got to play this in a three-man squad. I was playing with Kevin Drew, who's the Associate Director of Design at Treyarch and pretty much the face of zombies for Treyarch now, as well as another Australian creator called Drew Dog as a three-man, and we had a really fun hour. Like, I really wish I could have recorded the gameplay and shared it with you rather than use the gameplay that we were all given to share, because we had some really fun moments and fun gameplay where we assimilated, we created a six-man team, but then we also came across another three-man later, and that was pretty much like a whole third of the lobby all congregating and fighting in this one area. I think even though people will complain that this is not on its own unique map, it's the Warzone map Urzikstan but zombified, I think this is still in itself a massive improvement to what we saw with Outbreak, where all of those were just reused multiplayer maps. There was not a single visual change to make it feel more zombies-esque, but this I feel is a massive improvement. The map feels very much more like a zombies area with the colors, the tones. We even mentioned about the fact that there's a blend of it being a little bit dark, but you still have a bit of sunlight, and Kevin Drew said that there was a ton of work that was put into making sure that that was correct, and the lighting and the mood felt much more like a zombies experience. Visually also, fighting zombies inside of the Ether Storm, I think that looks visually really impressive as well. And I think the fact that this shares so much with DMZ means that there is infinitely more things to do in your play sessions than there were with Outbreak, where once you've done all of the set side objectives a few times, you essentially just rinse and repeating the exact same thing. There was no real differentiates. More so, was there any reason to really free roam, because the maps felt a little bit dead. There wasn't really too much going on within them, but this, there was so much to do. When you open up the TAC map, there are so many little mini objectives and other things that are just littered all around the map. There is a ton of things going on, and I think that's really important for a mode which is selling itself as an open world mode compared to Outbreak, which had so little to do. This has so much more, which I'm really happy about. My only concern is that all of these contracts and side missions and stuff will get very repetitive and boring once you've done them all quite a lot, but I guess we'll have to see. Another positive thing is just how so much of Cold War Zombies is returning here, where it feels like a genuine, real continuation from those systems rather than taking any steps backward like we saw with Vanguard. We've got all 10 perks from Cold War, even some that have their own brand new features, which they didn't have in Cold War, which is really good. All the field upgrades are returning, which is really good. There's even some rumors of some new ones, which is really cool. Seeing a new wonder weapon in the game on launch in a mode which isn't really Treyarch Zombies is pretty crazy to see with the Scorcher. It looks great, has a great design, it works well. The fact that it can launch you in the sky to take you around the map as well is pretty crazy. The ray gun is there on launch, so we don't have to wait like Vanguard. We've got the Wonder Waffle in the box there as well. All weapons will have a Zombies Mastery camo grind, which is crazy. There are Pack-a-Punch camos in the game at launch. I know this promises things that we shouldn't even really have to expect to be there on launch, but thank God that it's there. And with the main gist of the game having you advance from the low threat, the medium to the high threat, where you're going to get the best rewards but tackle the hardest enemies out of all of the map, it was a truly hectic and fun experience. We had 9 of us there and we were getting absolutely wrecked by these zombies. They really were like the equivalent of like round 55 plus difficulty. So a positive in that sense is that it is a hard mode if you go to the really hardest parts of the maps. Even for seasoned veteran zombie fans like us, it was still a massive challenge, and it's going to be a learning experience to truly realize just how to best play in those environments. But like I said at the beginning, this is really close to DMZ. Like, it should really be called DM Zombies by how close it is, with the fact that you have to extract stuff, exfil, you have insured weapon slots, you've got contraband, you've got all of those missions as well, just like DMZ. And there was a ton of them when I looked through the menu, like a really large amount of missions, which I'm really glad, because that really is the life and soul of why people play DMZ. And once you get past all of the missions, there's not really a lot to do, and that's my only concern here. But as long as they keep updating it with more and more missions, with refreshes and stuff every single season, then we should be all right. I also really like the fact that you can only pack a punch once within each area. So if you want to pack a punch to tier 2, you can't just stay in the edges of the map and the low threat zone. You have to go into the medium threat in order to get that second pack a punch. And then if you want to get the third tier, you have to go into the high threat, which is the hardest part of the map. So it actually promotes you having to make your way in that progression through the game mode in order to power yourself up over time, rather than just trying to cheese the mode by just taking it easy from the very get-go to as late as possible. I know we touched on the perks earlier with all of them returning from Cold War, but the fact that we have the original PhD flopper as well, not PhD slider, PhD flopper. So I had the ray gun, I had PhD flopper, I was dolphin diving, it was doing what we expected it to. I think that was really cool. The fact that we have this in a Modern Warfare game, and yet we hadn't seen this in so many years in a Call of Duty Zombies, is pretty crazy. And I'm so glad that despite the fact that we have the DMZ missions, we actually have full-fledged story missions woven into them as well, because what we've been teased is actually really cool sounding, where these will actually take you to a completely separate map that's been designed for that moment from the ground up. It's not part of Urzikstan, a completely separate map, but you're going to have a really cool experience that has been tailor-made for that area that you're in, which is going to be akin / the same sort of style as what you do in an Easter egg quest. Overall though, considering this is not a round-based zombies experience, and I've well and truly accepted that, what I did play was a lot of fun coming from someone that really loves DMZ. But now let's get into the bad and the ugly, and the first being that the time limit is definitely something of a contentious point in the community. And I'll be honest, with the one game session that I had, that I didn't think this timer was long enough. Now, to break the timer down, you start with 45 minutes ticking down. Once that hits 0, you then have a further 15 minutes where the storm is going to start consuming the entire map, and you need to exfil before you are left for that to kill you. Now, naturally, the progression of the game is you start off really weak, you do a bunch of missions, you be able to pack a punch, then you go into the medium threat zone, rinse and repeat until you have a second pack-a-punch gun, then make your way into the high threat zone to take out the strongest enemies, where you should have a third tier pack-a-punch weapon by that point. But points are going to be the thing that's going to stop you from being able to be that powerful, and earning points in this mode I felt was really slow. It was slow in Outbreak, and by doing the main objectives each time, you eventually were getting more and more points per round, where you were given a really good amount of points. But in this, the main way to earn points, and you're almost forced to do it, is to do all of these mini contracts around the map, which can get really tedious and a little bit boring if that's not what you want to do. If you want to just go in and just slay the undead, you should be able to do that and earn a bunch of points at some other way, rather than being forced to do these contracts. I guess my gripe with them is that some of these just don't feel zombies-esque at all. Like, some of the contracts from DMZ are here one-to-one, like having to deliver some cargo to a certain location. I mean, don't get me wrong, Treyarch have really added quite a few zombies-esque ones, like the Ether Nest, where you have to go into an area and shoot a load of spores, and at the end you get a crate that you can open that gives you some rewards. That's really cool, but I just feel like there shouldn't be an emphasis on forcing the player to do a ridiculous amount of these contracts just to try and get cash. And an issue you could encounter by having to do so many of these is that if you're playing with randoms that don't help you complete a contract that might not necessarily be doable on your own, then you're just not going to be able to do that, and you're not going to be able to get the points. And that sort of goes into the fact that this mode doesn't really seem solo friendly. I do know that Treyarch have made comments that they are going to be looking into making it solo friendly, but what exactly that means, we just don't know. Even to this day, DMZ still has an issue with those that want to play solo, and clearly for zombies, there's a lot of people that want to play solo. Now, by all means, you can still play this mode on solo. You can choose to not have the squad feel and you just play it on your own with other people around you in the real world, but I don't know if that's going to be scaled so it's easier for you to take down zombies or not because of it, or you spawn in with a self-revive kit so you get one chance at freedom again if you go down. But I just feel naturally at its core, zombies has a lot of solo players that enjoy at least the round-based classic gameplay, so I think there should be an emphasis and look at making sure that those that play on solo are not going to be at a disadvantage. Now, another thing that I really didn't like about this was the AI soldiers, the mercenaries. Now, I even made a comment about this to Kevin Drew, because at this point we hadn't really come across them yet, but he mentioned it, and I mentioned that in all of Call of Duty Zombies, adding AI soldiers has never really worked out well, and I made a reference to the fact that in Exo Zombies DLC maps like Carrier and Descent, you have AI soldiers shooting at you, and I said I just don't believe in a zombies mode there should ever be something that can shoot back at you, and I'd like to think he agreed with me, but he didn't really say much after that point, and I guess that's fair enough. But yeah, I personally didn't like the mercenary AI within the game. There was moments where I think when I dipped out of the high threat back into the second threat to, you know, maybe grab some people to bring in or just to do something very quickly, I was just running through an area and I was just being bombarded by AI shooting at me, and I'm like, dude, this is just not it. I totally get from a storyline point of view why they've added them in, and I guess when you look at DMZ, that at its core has AI soldiers, so it makes sense, but I still just think that they shouldn't be in this. They should at least be toned down a little bit, less of an emphasis on them, because we also have like strongholds, which are like a 3-tiered system where you can go to different tiers of strongholds where there's going to be AI soldiers in them to clear, and some of them at the higher ends, you do have like mimics that are chilling on a rooftop that will be there as a threat whilst you're clearing this as well. But I'm like, why can't we just have these filled with zombies? Why do they have to be real AI soldiers? Now, outside of the high threat zone, the game did feel pretty easy, and I think this is definitely an experience that's more tailored to casual players who might just play multiplayer or Warzone, not necessarily have played hardcore zombies for the last 10 years. And when I was at Treyarch and during the COD NEXT presentation, they clearly want to try and make this the best of both worlds to please those sort of players, but it was almost like the beginning and middle parts were too easy, but then the high threat zone was just way too hard, that if me as a veteran zombies fan was really struggling, then how is the casual player going to deal with this? It's going to be incredibly challenging, and with the fact that we had 9 players in there and we were still struggling, is like crazy to think that that was all people that are genuine big hardcore zombies fans, rather than in like a normal game environment when you're playing this when the game comes out. There's going to be a lot of like just casual people playing on their sofa, not really thinking about anything, and getting to that part of the game, they're really going to struggle. But you really need to have players that are somewhat efficient and know what they're doing, because otherwise it's really going to be a struggle for you. Like, you really do have to depend on other people in order to make that high threat zone a sensible place to play and be in, and I think that's a little bit of an issue where maybe they might need to balance it somewhat, maybe even slightly tone it down, because yeah, it was just far too difficult. But again, we only had one game session where we didn't really know what we were doing, so perhaps once you get to know it a bit better, it will be a lot easier, but it was brutally difficult. But the irony is, the start of the video, I said this is more like DMZ than it is anything else, but I think that's also a negative, because it just felt so much like DMZ rather than a solely brand new, unique mode. But on top of that, the thing that made DMZ so enticing and dangerous with the exfil game loop is that you had PvP, where it was a risk playing the game and going in, because there's a chance a real player could kill you and take your loot, and we don't have that here in Zombies. Now, do I think this should exist in a Zombies mode? On paper, no, but because this is an exfil game loop, I feel like it is just a little strange for there to not be any form of PvP element, and I feel at its fundamental basis it shouldn't, but I feel like maybe there should be an area of the map that works a bit like the Division, where it's a dark zone, where when you're in there, it is weapons free and absolutely everything goes, and that's where the PvP element would go down. Outside of that, then that should not be a thing. But I do think this is what's lacking for the mode to really add a sense of urgency and danger, because of course the AI can be strong, and in those high threat zones they are really, really strong, but there is nothing saying that you can't just go back to a medium or low threat area and use one of those exfil points to leave the game and successfully leave with all your loot. But there is far less of any danger or risk associated with that gameplay style. It did also just feel really alien to see this menu that looked exactly like DMZ, that had the exact same mechanics with the backpack and insured weapon slots and contraband. But in-game, it also was missing some of the DMZ systems that have made the game a lot better since its launch, such as the bartering system in the buy stations. There is still so much random, useless items around in the world that are worth very little that in DMZ you could now combine to create some really good gear, but in this mode it is absolutely absent. So in a way, whilst we've not gone any steps backwards with the fact that we have every Cold War mechanic and it feels like a continuation, at least for the DMZ elements, it feels like it's been stripped back to its Season 1 launch rather than it having all of the additional updates and quality of life that DMZ now has in Season 6. I do worry as well about the long-term longevity of this game mode, the fact that there is no PvP, the fact that there is only a finite amount of missions, and once you've completed that, then what else is there to do in the mode and what is the point? I think for this to succeed long term, there really needs to be just a constant stream of updates and live service to make this a forever evolving world where there are constant things to do. And I know that's a bit weird to say because when you look at round-based zombies maps, we normally get them on launch and that's pretty much it. We get all of the content there on day one. That's it. Apart from patches and fixes, there is no content updates added to those maps. But we now live in a world where a lot of Call of Duty is live service. And with the zombies being a live service game where it's always going to be played on public servers, you're not going to be able to play this in a private match as far as I'm aware, because it literally is the DMZ systems. There is no offline play. There is no private matches. There is no solo play just against AI. There is always going to be other real players roaming around the map at all times alongside your play sessions. And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. I think that's pretty cool. But I know for some of you watching, you won't like that and you would rather there be a private match. Now, another concern I have is that because the mission structure is so similar to DMZ, the way it works is that once you've completed a mission, you can't redo that ever again. Like, it's ticked off the list, you cannot redo it. And we know that that is also going to tie into some of the main story missions in the game mode, where they're going to be real big set pieces where you're teleported to a brand new map that's not Urzikstan, and you'll have what sounds like a really cool gameplay experience, and I'm really worried that we will not be able to replay these once you've completed them. I think if these are going to have cutscenes at the end and might have crazy gameplay where we might even see like boss fights as an example, where upon completing it, we get that cutscene, we get that next part of the story. I really want to be able to replay those, especially if so much effort has been put into those that I just don't want them to be like a one and done thing. But I think that about wraps up everything I can give for my very first initial impressions from the 1 hour of game time I had. Obviously, it's not long at all to base a real judgment on the game, and my thoughts and opinions are very likely to change when the full game comes out and I actually get a lot of hands-on time with it. But I wanted to get this video out so that you guys know what the game feels like from someone that's played it. Of course, I know it's not round-based. There's a ton of discourse in the community ever since it's revealed that it wasn't round-based zombies, and I completely get it. But I'm open to trying out this new DMZ style of zombies because I really love DMZ, and just from the first impressions I got, it seems like a lot more effort has been put into this mode from every possible angle than what we saw with Vanguard zombies. And if this isn't your cup of tea, then I guess you can just wait for Treyarch's game next year, where it will very likely have round-based zombies. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it useful, please let me know by dropping a like rating down below and subscribing, so I'll keep you posted on everything Modern Warfare 3 Zombies on the road to launch and beyond. Here's a video about all the new secrets that I've revealed on the channel about Modern Warfare 3 Zombies that you didn't know.